A lot of changes are coming to the market when it comes to Bitcoin because of this ETF. This ETF is going to institutionalize this asset. The ETF is going to allow Bitcoin to become a cash flow generating asset. The ETF is going to allow the Bitcoin to become a collateral asset. Bitcoin is going to become the best alternative, because if you're thinking about putting money in REITs, which is a real estate investment trust, or SPY, which is the S&P 500 index fund, you now have to actually look through and say the Bitcoin fund beat out all of my alternatives. Bitcoin is now becoming a mainstream asset, which means that people will assess it. At the end of the day, as a capital allocator, your job is to analyze all of the options and go, which one is the best one for my money? And normal people have chosen real estate as the best thing for their money because they get sold this lie of cash flow and everything else that comes in with real estate. The biggest advantage real estate has right now over Bitcoin is the tax advantages that come from real estate versus everything else, especially in the United States and countries like the UK. That is about to be smashed to pieces. And the one thing that clicked for me when it came to Bitcoin in my own journey was the value of its scarcity. This is why I focus on sharing that message with as many people as possible, and why I need you to subscribe to this channel. Help me, because if the faster you subscribe, the faster the YouTube algorithm gets spanked, and it tells the YouTube algorithm to put Bitcoin content in front of other people. This is what changes the mind of someone who's got a $5 million, $8 million real estate portfolio. It's like, wait a second, I can just go to Charles Schwab, press a button, and immediately get exposure to Bitcoin, because that's what they want right now. They want exposure. One of the things that I like to look at very simply is look at the values of real estate versus M2. And really, we're experiencing a 2008 style low from my perception in terms of, has real estate actually kept the value that M2 expansion has caused? And that's really the problem. People think it's all about price. It's really not. It's about value. As much as people hate the US regulators, they've proven to be the best option in the world. So what they're saying is that you got to get that cash when it comes in, and you, based on the mandate of that ETF, have to go and purchase that Bitcoin cleanly through a US registered exchange, which is going to be Coinbase. So yeah, it's a little bit more costly. It's a little bit more time consuming when it comes to admin side. But from what I can see, it's the best option to make sure that there's people that will argue that, one Bitcoin is equal to one Bitcoin, and I agree. But from a regulatory and financial markets perspective, you don't want Bitcoin that's entering that fund that was used for terrorist financing or stolen Bitcoin or anything like that. And I think this does a better job at making sure that that's the case. YouTube, I think, is extremely powerful. I was reading a Charles Schwab report, and they were saying that something like 17% of their funds, right, in their client survey, people were utilizing social media to direct where their investment was going. 17%. It was like $20 trillion or something of capital, of overall capital. And 70% of that was YouTube driven. And these people are just not educated in what Bitcoin is, and they don't understand the opportunity. The problem is everything feels okay. Oh, I have $1 million property portfolio today. In a year, I have a $1.3 million property portfolio. Sure, it should be worth 1.5, but at least it's worth 1.3. Marketing is everything, right? So, and now you're going to have these funds that can actually take their 1% fee or whatever it is and utilize 70% of it in marketing to get more capital in it. And the beautiful thing is, if we have this step function approach to price, then every 4 years their fees compound. But also the best performing fee generator is Bitcoin, and the best performing ROI on marketing is Bitcoin. So within a very short period, like 2 or 3 cycles, you're looking at BlackRock's entire purpose becoming Bitcoin, because it's the biggest fee generator for their shareholders. So, to me, that's absolutely huge, because you now actually have a proper marketing department for Bitcoin. Not, and by the way, marketing goes beyond just retail, right? You got to market to senators, you got to market to politicians, and they have lobbying arms for this sort of stuff, right? I'm not talking about, while we've seen a great job. I want to say this before I say what I'm going to say next. We've seen a great job with the companies that have been venture backed in the Bitcoin space. What you need is the lobbying arm of BlackRock. You need the lobbying arm of Goldman Sachs. You need that in order to start pushing Bitcoin into the worldwide public sphere. No one wants to hear about Bitcoin going up from someone sitting in sandals and a t-shirt. I don't care what anyone says. They want to hear it from their BlackRock advisor, right? I'm talking about the main capital of the world. I'm not talking about the adoption phase. The adoption can continue as it's going. They're looking for someone to call them up and present Bitcoin as an opportunity that BlackRock is backing. That's what they want for institutional funds to come into the market, and that's what's about to happen. In addition to that, we're about to get a reversal in rates. And so now capital is going to be looking for the highest return, right? Because it now needs to move out of its safe period. So we've got a lot coming here for Bitcoin overall. Marketing budgets is the most important thing. Everyone wants to educate people on Bitcoin, right? And that's very, very important. But I need to spark the fear and greed inside of people first. And then once we do that, then the education can take over. And the marketing budgets will do that. Imagine seeing, Grayscale is already doing this, right? I'm sure you've seen the ads in the airports in the US, et cetera, et cetera. Imagine when you can do it worldwide. Imagine when there's 50,000 people paid by BlackRock to sit on the telephone every single day and contact $130 trillion worth of capital to tell them about their best performing fund. Like, that's real marketing, right? And that's coming for Bitcoin soon. Regardless of them doing whatever they want to do, you can actually acquire the Bitcoin. You can actually acquire the Bitcoin ahead of all of this. Now, the truth is that some people are going to just need it to be obvious. Some people are just going to need it to be obvious. What do I mean by it? I mean Bitcoin. They just need Bitcoin to be obvious. They just need Larry Fink to say, yes, do it. They just need Warren Buffett to say, yes, I like Bitcoin. They just need it to be so obvious that it becomes a no-brainer. And this is why I want you to subscribe to this channel and help me spank the YouTube algorithm to getting more people to hear the message before the institutions are basically controlling your brain. That's what's happened with every other asset, right? People weren't looking at real estate as an asset until it was securitized. And now everyone thinks about real estate. You think that just happened by accident? Or do you think the message of, like the American dream, buy a property, this, that, and the other, everyone deserves a home, blah, blah, blah. You think that was all just sort of happened? Or do you think it was orchestrated? Because I think it was orchestrated. So this is about to happen. Right, the orchestra right now is coming on stage. I don't know if you guys have ever been to an orchestra before, but it's absolutely beautiful. But at the beginning, this is the beginning stage. The orchestra is now walking on stage, and the day of the approval is where they all start playing. That's what's happening here. But the question is are you going to get ahead of this by getting to your one Bitcoin? So remember what I'm saying. Google is now allowing people to promote trusts, Bitcoin trusts, right? It's not like Coinbase can advertise on there. It's not like any other people can advertise on there selling their actual Bitcoin. But you can advertise trusts because that's exchange traded. That's in the United States of America. Oh my God. The main point here is you finally have an opportunity to front run retail buying, inflow from newly printed money, inflow from stocks, inflow from bonds, inflow from gold, inflow from corporate treasuries, inflow from all these places. You finally have an opportunity to actually front run this. And people are sitting here going, hey, maybe I'll just wait until the ETF comes out. This is stupid, right? All of this the Bitcoin marketing orchestra is now coming into place. You're going to get Google ads. You're going to get your advisor calling you. You're going to get New York Times talking about how great it is for the environment. You don't think that this is all being set up for a rapid rise in price to create FOMO, to get more clients into their fund, et cetera, all while we have a reduction in Bitcoin available to purchase on the exchanges, all while we're walking into a halving where the supply is going to get cut in half. You don't think this is a setup? Because this is a setup. This is a rollout. This is a marketing rollout, and Google is just another piece of the puzzle. I'm not surprised by Google's announcement, by Google's changes. This is just normal. I was expecting this right from day one when I told you the marketing plan is going to come into place, and of course they're going to use every single ounce of pull that they have in order to do it. So be prepared to see a Bitcoin ETF advertised on your YouTube channel, on your on when you're scrolling the internet. You're going to see advertisements for Bitcoin ETFs. The question is, are you actually going to front run those advertisements, or are you going to sit there and wait for the advertisements to come out and then try and chase the hardest, most secure asset humanity has ever created? This is your one chance. It's not like property where you can just, learn about land here and then go to another country and then buy some land and start the whole process again. No. Bitcoin is everywhere and nowhere at the exact same time, and there is only 21 million of them. So the question is, are you going to get to your one Bitcoin, or are you just going to continue to waste time while the Bitcoin marketing orchestra comes into play, and then it's too late for you because on day one, there is a spike like we've never seen before. People are not taking serious the scarcity of this asset and what that means for the ETF when it comes out, and what that means for the price. The fact that right now people still think you have to buy one whole Bitcoin, right? The fact when the ETF comes out, you just be able to buy shares. I talked about this on an earlier video about the idea of unit bias going away. So much is going away that has been holding people back from Bitcoin because of the ETF, but those people need it to be obvious. Do you need it to be obvious? Or can you take advantage of it before? That's the only question here. But despite Google, despite BlackRock, despite whatever's coming with the New York Times or Washington Post or whoever else, there are still only 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, you shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.